is Law 254, your favorite legal show that seeks to demystify the law, give you useful tips and guidance on how you can interact with the law on a day-to-day basis, basically putting the law in your hands. I'm Wakili Kiti, I'm an advocate of the High Court, and today I want us to go through the subdivision of land process. So if you're a landowner, you have a block of land and you want to sell it in pieces, how do you go about it? Or it could be that you're a beneficiary of an inheritance. Mzee aliwaachia land kubwa and you want your share of that piece of land. How do you go about it to get your own title? Or you could just have interest in a piece of land being subdivided because someone else needs to have a portion of that land. How do you go about this process? The first step is, the first port of call, of course, is going to the office of an advocate. An advocate is the person who knows this process well and also can point you to the direction of professionals, namely physical planners or surveyors who can help you with this process. There are so many unscrupulous businesses out here that keep positioning themselves as though they can do this work, but they end up getting you in problems. All right, so it's important that you approach a professional to help you do this work. So the first step, of course, is to do an official search at the land registry. The official search is important because it tells you who the owners, who the proprietors of the land are, but it also tells you if there's any encumbrance or any caveat on the land. You wouldn't want to start a process and then hit a snag because the land had an encumbrance or a caveat. So the first thing to do an official search, get to establish who the owners are and whether the title is clean. So after establishing that the title is clean, you as the landowner, or you get in touch with the landowner to get something called a registry index map. A registry index map is basically a map, a bigger geographical map where that land is found in that within that area. So once you present that registry index map to a surveyor, he'll be able to show you this is where your piece of land is, and subsequently they can conduct a physical reconnaissance of that piece of land. So they go there physically on ground, they take measurements of that piece of land, they see what boundaries are there, what landmarks are there, basically have a familiarization with that piece of land. After they've done that, the surveyor will be tasked with, will have to prepare something called a subdivision scheme. A subdivision scheme is basically saying that this is the piece of land and I want it to be divided in this kind of format. So if you're having 2 acres, the subdivision, and you want to subdivide it in quarter of an acre, the subdivision scheme will just show you that this is how the quarter of acres will come into being. So once he has prepared that subdivision scheme, you have to present it before a qualified physical planner. So a qualified physical planner will look at the subdivision scheme, and if he deems it fit or he deems it appropriate, he will approve it, sign it, and issue something called a PPA Form 1. A PPA Form 1 is basically a Physical Planning Act Form 1. That means that a physical planner has looked at the subdivision schemes of the surveyor and is satisfied that those subdivision schemes are sound. Then after that, you submit all these documents to the county office, and the county office will issue, if they approve of those schemes, will issue it something called a PPA Form 2. This is a Physical Planning Act Form 2. Basically, the county is looked in because they ought to be involved in any subdivision or any transaction of land touching on the land within their county. So once they approve that scheme, and they do this also to regulate developments. Otherwise, if the county is not involved, haphazard developments and haphazard subdivisions will just be happening all over. So that's why the county has to be involved and they have to issue this PPA Form 2. So once that is issued, you submit all these documents to the local land office in that area, and then they will permit you to meet the local control board. So a local control board is basically a board of wazees at the village level that approve any transaction touching on land. It's usually called the LCB consent. LCB consent is basically you as a landowner presenting yourself before these wazees, explaining to them that I want to subdivide my land in this fashion and it's for this purpose that I want to subdivide my land, and then they'll give you a consent. So once you have that consent, you compile all the documents thus far, namely PPA 1, PPA 2, the original search document and the consent, and you submit it in the land registry, and you're given something called a mutation form in the local survey office, and you're given a mutation form. A mutation form basically says that the block of land was initially, say, 2 acres, and now you've decided to subdivide it into a quarter of an acre. So the land has mutated from 1 block to individual small blocks of land. So once you fill that mutation form in triplicate, you submit it to the county land register, UCO, and then the registrar of land in that county will issue now new titles. Will cancel the old title belonging to the single block, and then will issue the new titles belonging to the individual blocks. Now once you get the different titles, the land registrar is also tasked with the responsibility of submitting a certified mutation form to the surveys of Kenya, so that now the people at the surveys of Kenya can change their maps to reflect the new reality that in this area it's not 1 block of land, but there are multiple pieces of land. Then once that is done, you have your titles, you have your multiple titles. So if you are the landowner and you wanted to sell the small pieces of land, now you can sell them at the individual level. If you are a beneficiary of an inheritance and you wanted your piece of land, then you can say,